My name is Anthony Puglisi, and I'm a retired chiropractor. I was retired at 39 years old after practicing for 16 or 17 years. This is my first video, so I'll take a second or two to tell you why you might consider listening to what I have to say anyway, since there's a lot of knuckleheads on YouTube, and I guess be one more of them. I don't know. I did some things that some people thought were special or amazing. I don't know. I averaged 117 new patients a month for 8+ years when I had my New York City practice, and that was without advertising. And the thing that I'm most proud of about that is a large majority of those were under the age of 10. So I knew that the patients were understanding what it was that I was trying to get across. So other than that, my 15 minutes of fame was that when Dr. Pierce, who developed the Pierce Stillwagon and Pierce Results System, when he passed away, his family selected 2 chiropractors, Dr. Stephen Salibi and myself, to continue to teach his work, which we did for many years. So maybe I have something to offer you, I don't know. But I think people are a little muddled when they get into practice, and they think about a lot of things that just aren't true. The only way to really succeed long-term in practice is to add value to somebody else's life. Now you might be thinking, okay, well, if I stop their pain, I'm adding value to their life, and that's true, but that's a very narrow kind of window in terms of value. I think that chiropractors of today, probably the last 50 years or so, are really missing the boat. They take the crumbs of the medical profession. Here will allow you to take care of pain and be quiet because, you know, you're lucky we're giving you that sort of thing, and it's nonsense. So that pain game that most people are playing is a losing proposition on many fronts. A, because it's not true. That's not what chiropractic is and does. It might be a byproduct of removing subluxation, but it's certainly not the end game. B, you have a tremendous amount of competition, right? Acupuncturists, massage therapists, pain management people, physical therapists, and worst of all, 25-cent pill can stop the pain. So where's your value when you're asking for hundreds or thousands of dollars in a care plan if all you're going to do is stop their pain that wine or pills could do, at least temporarily? Now granted, if they've done a bunch of things, or they've had surgery in the past, and the miracle chiropractor comes along and lays hands on them, and their problem goes away, well then they'll have a certain heightened level of value for you in their life, because ending suffering definitely does have value. But once again, it's such a narrow band of referral, of practice, really. So my thoughts on it are, what is it that you really have to offer these people? I think the only unique thing we have, and I'm sure you've heard this before, is subluxation. So for the chiropractors who came here who are really kind of backup-practors, this is probably where you want to switch off, because you won't care to hear this, but we have one thing in chiropractic, just one, and that is the subluxation. The trick is getting the patient from where they are to where you are in terms of understanding your value. I mean, to this day, I'll go out and people will find out that I was a chiropractor, and they'll start with all that lame nonsense, and you're going to crack my neck, or all this baloney, not understanding the massive value of subluxation, or more importantly, the removal of that subluxation. So your whole focus as a practitioner really needs to get back to educating these people, because that's one value you can give them. If they don't know about it, how can they decide about it? I mean, that seems like common sense, but for a variety of reasons where I won't get into in this video, most chiropractors don't educate their patients. They're just happy getting their trickle of people in, and going to the next practice management seminar or some slick advertising campaign and paying lots of money. because it comes back to fear. You know, they don't want that confrontation on any level, or that rejection of saying this is what chiropractic really is, and people's faces, you know, because that disapproving face that mom or dad might have given them as a child taught them, you don't want the disapproving face now. So we'll do a lot of things to avoid that. What I'm saying to you is, if you ever want to truly succeed as a chiropractor, you're going to have to get yourself out of the way and do what you need to do to add real value, not symptom relief and that. Come on. You guys who are subluxation based, and preferably subluxation based, who gather objective instrumentation, readings and findings as well, because that's where my stuff kind of works best. Those subluxation oriented practitioners who gather objective information and can demonstrate that in a logical way to their patients. So if our thing is the subluxation, and there, as the patient, is whatever, you're going to have to, it's a really tricky situation to bring the two together, because if you do it too quickly, what happens is people brain short out, and when they rather keep something at arm's length that they don't understand, or just dismiss it completely rather than investigate it. So there are going to be other videos where I will talk about the proper way, or one proper way to educate people, but that's not what this is about. This is about opening up your world to the world of people out there, because if you ask yourself what percentage of the population is subluxated, you know, it's probably 99%, and I'll lowball it and say 97%. So why are chiropractors historically only taking care of 7 or 8% of the population? It's because they're taking care of neck pains and back pains and maybe a few headaches if their medical doctor says it's okay, right? You know, we need permission to take care of these people. Nonsense. When I was first in practice and I wasn't doing very well, and I had this epiphany, I had this mini emotional breakdown, and I heard this voice, and this is a true story, and to this day I couldn't tell you if it was in my head or outside my head, because it was loud. And it said, if they knew what you knew, who wouldn't want it? And because I'm a little thick-headed, the voice came again a couple of seconds later. If they knew what you knew, who wouldn't want it? I mean, I had better than 90% success with children with asthma, for example, in my practice. If the world, or even just the United States, knew what I knew, that 90% of the kids who came with it, and not that I'm treating asthma, because I never treated anything but subluxation, but as a byproduct of removing the subluxation, 90% of these kids cleared. So, and I would say this during my new patient orientations to the parents, if the medical doctors could do what I did, there would be a line 6 blocks long. It would take 14 weeks to get an appointment, and they would charge you $15,000 a treatment, or at least your insurance they would charge $15,000 a visit for. But I have to, you know, fight. At that time, I had dealings with insurance companies in my first practice. My second practice was cash, and I totally recommend that way. That, again, it will be another video, I'm sure. So, if they knew what I knew, who wouldn't want it? If the people knew that the chiropractor's true job was to clear up communication between the brain and the body via the nervous system, which could in turn affect every possible area of the body, who wouldn't want it, provided it was reasonably priced? And compared to most things in the healing arts, chiropractic is still in most offices a reasonable deal. So if we now agree that pretty much everybody would want it, what are you going to do to add that value, to get these people to understand what it is you do so they can make a decision on real chiropractic, detecting and correcting subluxation? See, that's doctor in its definition actually means teacher, back to its Latin origins. Are you dropping the ball when these people are coming to you? Are you telling them what they need to know? Are you at least giving them the silver platter and saying, here's what I really have, and doing it in an organized fashion, not to spook them and scare them away by jumping up on a table and saying, I am the healer and the corrector of subluxations, come one, come all, I'll cure all your diseases, like they did in the 1920s. And believe me, I like that sort of thing, so I wouldn't be against it if it wouldn't run off the patients and get you in trouble with the state boards and all that nonsense. But what I'm saying is you need to take a step-by-step approach to bring these people from where they are to where you are. And where you are is the vertebral subluxation complex. Where they are is, who knows, drugs, surgeries, maybe some of them are into vitamins, yoga, who knows. But you need to express about what it is that you do and its uniqueness, and that only chiropractors do that. See, that's the value. Only chiropractors detect and correct subluxations. Now, I was a Pierce results practitioner for all the time that I practiced, so that kind of made it easy because we were subluxation or are subluxation oriented, and we had objective instruments so we could monitor and demonstrate that correction, including x-rays, so it made sense to me, and I was able to articulate that to them, and of course they would come in and they would feel better, but it was always the neat part when they came in because they had the XYZ pain, but some other physical ailment disappeared because their body was communicating more properly. So those people were starting to get it. So your whole focus really should be, and in training or teaching them, if your patients can answer 3 questions, you've won the game in terms of chiropractic education. If they can answer what is a subluxation, what are the damaging effects of the subluxation, and how are these subluxations corrected, that would clear up 99% of all practice issues, because once they understood these damaging effects and that you were the only one, you as in the profession were the only one that could correct this, then your value would rise. Because my opinion was that chiropractic should be 3rd place, not in the healing arts, but in the patient's life. There would be shelter, food, chiropractic. But where is it for most people? If the iPhone 27 comes out, well, getting your chiropractic adjustments is now down here. I used to rent to a dentist on the other side of my office, and I'd have people come cry the blues to me that they couldn't afford chiropractic care, and would I give them a discount, and then they go over to the other side and they would cut a check for $10,000 for some pretty teeth. And I didn't blame those people, I blamed myself, because I didn't help them understand the value. So then how could they value it if in their mind I was just the back guy and I'll use your services when my back hurts. Do you see how weak that is? So my whole goal in practice was, yes, it might have been half of it was to detect and correct the subluxations, but the other half was to educate these people on what it is that chiropractic is and how it was that I fit into their life. And that raised the value. I mean, I still, even after being retired for 11 years, am contacted by patients who still value what I have to say. Not to go puff up, oh, look how great I am. No, it wasn't about that. It was never about that. What it was about was being as good as I could be at getting them to understand chiropractic and then delivering the goods. So what value are you adding to these people's lives? If you are removing interference in their nervous system and vivifying or helping them vivify all the tissue of their entire body, changing the course of the rest of their life, what's the value of that compared to, nah, doc, I don't think you got it, crack me again. You get what I'm saying? So put that through your filter. How are you adding value? And there's lots of ways to add value. And sometimes it's a compassionate word. Sometimes it's just the touch of your hand. These things have value, right? If your patient's 79 years old and lives alone, they probably don't get touched anywhere. So just touching them brings value. But our job as a chiropractor is beyond that. It's about finding and correcting the subluxations, showing and demonstrating to them when they are corrected, and educating them so that they're not leaving their children home and their family members and their friends to suffer, I don't mean pain, to suffer needlessly on a diminished life. So this was my first video, so forgive me that I rambled and I was a bit all around. I hope to get better. We'll see. But if you want more of these ideas that I'm talking about, I just wrote a book. It's on Amazon and a few other places. And I guess if I point down, that's where the link should be. And if that would provide some value to you, then I would feel good about helping you add value to your life, which then adds value to my life, which adds value to your patient's life. Win, win, win. I love that. So anyway, hope to see you next week. Until then, I'm Dr. Anthony Puglisi with the Bulletproof Practice, and I'll talk to you soon.